Welcome to this session. My name is Anusha. I'm the Solution Manager for SAP Internet of Things. Today I have with me Martin Bachmann, Senior Vice President for SAP Digital Supply Chain Solution Management, and Peter Flora, Global Vice President, Services Delivery for Engineering and Manufacturing at SAP. Thank you very much for joining me, Peter and Martin. Welcome to the session. Today, we would like to dive deeper into the topic of Industry 4.0 and how it transforms business operations across the enterprise and beyond. Martin, let's start with you. What are we seeing in supply chains today?
Thanks, Anu. These are some really interesting times for supply chains. Why do I say that? Currently, we observe that recent global events, longer-term business trends, and fundamental technology advancements have really elevated supply chain topics, elevated them not just to company boardrooms, but also to government policymakers.
So how would you describe the business environment that companies are operating in?
First, the pandemic is a dramatic and unplanned disruption to businesses, no doubt. It actually really reveals how vulnerable supply chains are. But there are more disruptions that fit into this unplanned and unforeseen category. Disruptions such as acts of nature, global trade changes and disagreements, geopolitical disruptions, general material shortages, and, as we recently witnessed, logistics failures. Secondly, markets continue to become more and more competitive. Any disruption or delay in product delivery results in customers buying alternative products from other channels or companies. And third, we see governments making specific proclamations and decisions reflecting the strategic importance of supply chains. We also see that it's very challenging to predict and respond effectively to these disruptions and trends because supply chains consist of an array of connected processes and networks, and these all come together to produce and deliver products and goods. And in this complex networked landscape, any disruption or break in the process actually harms the entire supply chain.
Absolutely. So that's about the challenges. Where are the opportunities and what seems to be working?
So here's where fundamental technology advancements come into play. There's one common denominator among the companies who are able to better respond to the shocks of disruption and put themselves on a path towards being more resilient. And that common denominator is digitalization. Now, what do I mean by that term? While digitization is merely the conversion of analog to digital, digitalization is the use of digital technologies and digitized data to impact how work gets done, to transform how companies and customers engage and interact, and in some cases even create a platform to create new revenue streams.
Okay, but can you give us some examples of digitalizations?
Companies that unify planning into one synchronized planning and execution system are able to work seamlessly across different planning horizons. So for example, they can take planning decisions and match demand with supply more quickly, more frequently, while at the same time being able to perform insightful what-if and scenario analyses. Another example is companies that are connected through digital networks have better visibility into what's really happening. These companies can thus make better decisions and can collaborate more seamlessly with other parties. More examples, companies that invest in their Industry 4.0 and industrial Internet of Things capabilities are able to better run and maintain their entire supply chain. And what we mean is that by combining real-world data collected from machines and devices with enterprise business data, such as deliveries or production orders, these companies can run completely new business processes, such as, for example, modular production or output-based services for industrial assets. And these new technologies for supply chain automation and digitalization collect or ascertain more information about these companies' own processes. Companies then take this information and deeply embed these technologies into end-to-end processes, not just for manufacturing, but things like maintenance and quality, field service, think logistics processes such as warehousing and transportation. They incorporate these in a way that ultimately drives down supply chain costs in a pretty significant way. In some cases, you can now leverage this information that has been collected and think about new digital revenue streams or even business models.
Let's explore your point a bit more about Industry 4.0 and what are the key elements of a successful Industry 4.0 program.
In an overarching sense, Industry 4.0 gives companies a far more resilient supply chain, thereby making those companies more competitive and in a position to be more customer-centric. Specifically, companies thrive by focusing and seeing these outcomes manifest themselves along 4 dimensions. And those dimensions are agility, productivity, connectivity, and sustainability. So let's start with agility. What do we mean by that? Many companies still run in departmental silos, and that results in poor information flow and leads to, at times, misinformed decisions. So an example of that would be the design of the product may not be in sync ultimately with how that product is manufactured, let alone with how the product is performing once it's out and sold to customers. So companies need a fully connected supply chain, not only between departments within an organization, but across the whole ecosystem of customers, suppliers, contract manufacturers, logistics service providers, and even other partners. So everyone that's involved in the process needs to be equipped with the data that they need to effectively complete the work and complete the work in the right way. So by doing this, the overall process is streamlined and then companies can become more agile.
Okay, so we get agility, but what about productivity?
That's the second element, fundamental element of Industry 4.0. So markets have shifted from being one-dimensional, where you can exclusively deliver products in a mass production environment, and have instead shifted to an era of individualized products. We see what's required now is more on the lines of modal manufacturing, which means that companies can produce singular runs of identical products and then swiftly shift the operations to mass production of individualized products, all while doing it at of course, very high quality standards. So this desired step change in productivity creates a whole new set of integrated demands on production lines and supply chains. Customer order processes need to allow for the individualization of complex products with tight integration to engineering and manufacturing processes. Intralogistics, which is the supply of materials to the production lines, needs to be orchestrated directly from the shop floor. Asset operations need to evolve from reactive to predictive strategies. All of this can now be tackled comprehensively with an Industry 4.0 approach or program. In essence, Industry 4.0, with it, you combine manufacturing automation with enterprise business execution.
And this leads us to the next fundamental element, that's connectivity.
Connectivity is very key. It's key as the work will increasingly become more networked. This has resulted in the blurring of traditional boundaries between companies. Broad-based network connectivity will provide multi-enterprise visibility, which enables companies to align processes and decision-making across the entire extended supply chain network. Connectivity also reduces financial and operational risk because it facilitates early detection of problems or opportunities, thereby indirectly or directly, frankly, affecting increased customer satisfaction.
Okay, and what about the last fundamental element of Industry 4.0, that's sustainability?
Fortunately, Industry 4.0 embraces sustainability by instituting business practices that really maximize the reuse and minimize the waste across the entire product lifecycle. At the same time, sustainability protects the health and safety of the workforce, and at the highest levels, Industry 4.0 helps companies reduce things like their carbon footprint and make it or drive it as close to net zero as possible.
Great. Thank you, Martin. Let's turn over to Peter. As Martin took us through the business opportunities of Industry 4.0, it struck me how companies would be trying to understand how they should implement these changes of Industry 4.0. Peter, can you tell us a bit more about what are the critical elements of a successful Industry 4.0 project?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Anu. The starting point of an Industry 4.0 journey looks very different from customer to customer and this requires obviously individual approaches, which is why initial advisory and planning services and a flexible implementation framework are so important. From dialogues with our customers and also analyst research, we see three critical factors for successful and sustainable implementations. One, there is not one unified approach for all customers. Each customer requires an individual roadmap in order to address, in particular, two objectives: creating business value right from the start and technical feasibility and sustainability of the implementation. Therefore, we have built a service offering that covers the complete customer journey from planning to go live with adjustable and flexible services. With our outcome-based service approach, customers gain a clear, actionable roadmap to specify, plan, and realize then their transformation objectives. Customers have the flexibility to engage with SAP services, obviously, technology vendors, and integration partners of their choice. Second, data per se does not create value. Therefore, SAP services use a process-driven approach instead of a primarily data or technology-oriented methodology. We implement processes like designed to operate or designed to consume, not only shop floor functionality or Internet of Things scenarios. Industry 4.0, like Martin pointed out, it's connecting machines, sensors, and people, generating vast amount of data. And in implementation, we connect those data with business processes in order to generate a true business impact. Third point is we strongly believe that over-optimized silo solutions generate more complexity than necessary. Industry 4.0 is more than just optimizing a single step in your manufacturing process. Our approach covers all phases of the value chain, from design and engineering of products to smart manufacturing to service processes and management of assets. Obviously, with the involvement of our Industry 4.0 initiative, also our respective service portfolio will be continuously developed in adding even more use cases.
Thank you very much, Peter, for these interesting insights into the critical elements of an Industry 4.0 project. Martin, back to you. What are some of the KPI improvements we can expect as a result?
Well, Industry 4.0 delivers positive business outcomes very substantially across three dimensions: business performance, customer experience, and product excellence. Business performance improvements would be seen in measures for productivity, agility, responsiveness, so think cost, customer service, and delivery times. Customer experience measures would improve with the delivery of individualized products, as well as measures around things like customer satisfaction and market share. New revenue may emerge also from these outcome-based business models that I talked about earlier. And finally, product excellence measures such as speed of innovation, quality, and sustainability become more favorable as a result.
Thank you, Martin. That sounds like a broad and powerful program. Martin, any final words from your side to wrap up?
Thank you, everyone, so much for joining this session. As you can probably tell, at SAP, we're pretty passionate about and have a dedicated strategy for Industry 4.0. We call this strategy Industry 4.now. If you want to learn more about this SAP strategy and the solutions that we have for Industry 4.0, we invite you to join a subsequent session with my colleague, Dominic Metzger. Thank you.